I sold yard art and wall art on Etsy.
So you're creative.
A little bit.
Why'd you stop that?
I got banned on Etsy for blatant copyright infringement.
Oh, I guess that's kind of fair.
I was struggling to get the business back up and running because drinking a lot in the evening, and I'll be hungover during the day, and it was honestly, like, looking back to last year, it's just a blur. Okay, I have ADD. This thing's making everything worse.
All right, welcome back, Paul. So your episode was pretty intense. We're looking at an upload of November 22nd, 2023. You know, there was a lot of IRS debt, and that is something that's been seen throughout the show, you know, quite a few times, and it's always very scary. It's always very intimidating, and it's so much to deal with, and those are not the people that we want to f with. It's kind of what I always say. You know, at that time, you were 40, based out of Denver, Colorado. You freelance IT consultant, also entrepreneur, sign maker on Etsy, and I know there were some things going on with that, and I'm curious to see the update on all that now as well. And you made us a really cool Halo sign, which is really cool. That's in my home, actually. Love Halo, big fan. And you also donated plasma. At that point, your primary source was the contract work in IT, $25 an hour at 40 hours a week, but it was ending soon. And you had some self-employed business revenue, which, you know, you expected it to get to $150,000. It was looking at about $40,000 a year in the recent past at that time. Also very curious to see where that is today. Actually, yeah, how about you give us updates on those before we go into your debt situation?
Kind of been a little bit of a roller coaster after kind of getting decently, you know, chewed out by a lot of the commenters on, you know, selling copyrighted stuff. I set up a new plan to really kind of shift over from that so I could kind of really start building my business up, just shift over from doing like non-copyrighted stuff, and basically just set a goal for the year to put out a new product every day. And I was doing pretty well on that until I got banned on Etsy again in April.
Oh, what were you banned for?
It was the same thing. It was copyrighted stuff. My plan was to, you know, as I'm rolling out the new non-copyrighted things, and I'd be pulling down my yard art, wall art that was copyrighted. So, you know, as you know, the new stuff starts selling, I'm pulling down the old stuff. Unfortunately, I just got taken down beforehand. So that was kind of a little bit of a setback, but whatever. Still with my contract job, thankfully, the contract was renewed. Still doing well with that with no issues. So I do still at least have a, you know, source of income coming. And after, you know, I got banned in, you know, late April, kind of just took a month off. Say, you know what, just gonna put the shop on the side, not gonna do anything with it, just kind of gonna, by not do anything, I'm not gonna make anything, I'm just gonna learn and study, kind of learn a little bit more about marketing, taking better product photos, just try and learn and grow a little bit, and then come back on and get back on Etsy in June. So that's kind of where I am, and just trying to rebuild again.
Well, okay. So are you on now?
Yes.
Okay, and how's that been going this month?
It's picking up. I'm doing about so far I just had like 1,000 in sales this month. So not ideal. The shop burn rate's about 1,500 to 2,000. I've driven it down a lot, you know. So I've been kind of floating it with my own salary, which kind of made things difficult.
Yeah. What are you making a year from the IT position?
About 52,000.
Okay, so that's a lot being pulled from that.
Yes, but after we talked, I really kind of hacked out my budget and got it down to about 2,500 a month. So I was able to save about 2,000, and over the 4 months since we talked, I paid off about 4,000 in debt, paid off some estate taxes, or not, 22's taxes and the fines. I paid off student loan debt, $1,000 for something else. And I also built up a nice little emergency fund as well. Promptly got emptied out in March due to car, vet, and medical stuff.
Oh, well, that's what they're for, and I'm glad you had it because it meant you didn't go into debt for it.
Correct. Yeah, but unfortunately it happened in March. I got banned in April. So the emergency fund had not been regrowing. I'm expecting it to start regrowing in July. Now that the new shop stuff is coming online, I'm starting to make a little bit more money from that, so I don't have to keep floating the shop with my money.
Did you get onto a payment plan with the IRS?
No, not exactly. I got with a new accountant who is working. We're doing like the offer and compromise, and he's a really good accountant. Some friends of mine who use them for their own tax stuff, you know, highly recommended him. And he says he can probably either get my debt down to about 5,000 or get it removed completely.
Okay, so the IRS debt at that point was approximately $29,000, and he thinks you can get it down to about $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I certainly hope so. I hope that process works out.
Obviously, still waiting to hear back, but I'm just taking it, one day at a time. Right now, I'm just kind of focusing on the debts I can take care of and just paying them down as fast as possible. And, once I start, getting more information on the IRS, I'll tackle that. But I'm just kind of waiting until the whole process resolves itself.
Cool. So the debt at the time of filming, besides the IRS debt, we had Stuttle and Hammer at $1,826, and then First Source at $8,593, and then Quest CCS USA at $206, Quest CCS $654, and Portfolio Recovery at $2,047. So let's take a look at where these documents are sitting. Now, if I'm understanding correct, I was informed that you weren't able to send some documents over.
Yeah, I sent over my total debt tracker, which is kind of the overall view of everything. And I sent over the documents on the stuff I've been actively working on, and that's changed. Stuff that's in collections, I'm not worrying about it right now simply because, one, it doesn't show up on my credit report. Two, it's not gaining any interest. And so I'm just focusing on the stuff that is active, showed on my credit, and is getting interest. So I'm trying to pay that down as fast as possible right now.
There was also the $2,000 owed to the state, and you were on a payment plan, and there were federal student loans of $8,000, collections of private student loans $6,751, SBA loan unknown balance, but you owed $174 currently owed, and then $10,000 in personal loans and $10,000 for the shop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's take a look at where these stand today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we owe parking tickets and court fees.
Those are paid off.
Okay, so walk me through what I'm looking at here. If it's green, does that mean it's paid off?
Yes. And then the orange and gray should be that's just alternating colors of stuff I'm working on. And then anything in red is just not being touched.
So you paid off big old tires, IRS, that 2022, $1,050. Okay, good. University of Denver, you paid $1,379. University of Denver, unsubsidized, you paid $1,798. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Were those the private loans? No.
They're a mix of subsidized and unsubsidized. They're all on from AidVantage, so I can't remember if they're private or government.
Okay. And then the WGU student loan, looks like you're working on it. It's at $2,044 right now. And then another one, and I'm subsidized with them at $3,240. IRS personal, $4,684. And you paid that off completely?
Oh yeah, that's part of the whole $30,000 or $29,000, the whole total IRS bundle. There were two IRS things. Remember, one was my taxes from 22, and the other was the taxes from the 401k withdrawal.
Okay, and then I see friends and family are still at $10,000 each, but it looks like amount left. Okay, so you put for the friends, it looks like you paid $4,000. There's $7,000 left still. And then I'm seeing how your spreadsheet's working. Sorry, it was a bit confusing. There was the WGU student loan subsidized. You paid only $216 towards that, and then WGU student loan unsubsidized, you paid only $309 towards that. So there's still thousands of dollars left on that. Family, we haven't touched, it looks like.
Correct, yeah. Paid back the friend through the business side some. Obviously, that's kind of slowed down a little bit. Once the shop's back up and running, I'll start paying that some more.
So it looks like, you certainly have made progress, and, getting some things written off has also helped. But obviously, you're not touching anything in collections, and then you're not touching your family debt. I'm glad we've kind of hit some of the higher interest ones, and we're starting to make some progress on other ones. And I'm glad you've taken care of parking tickets, court fees and stuff like that. Okay, and then here's some details on those student loans. Okay, so your Chase checking account, let's see what's going on here. We're taking some tolls, some parking, student loan. You're paying a student loan thing through this business account?
Under Chase, I have a business checking account, but then I also have my personal checking account as well, but that's just a header for it. So this is all, you're seeing only my personal business, my personal checking account. And all the tolls and parking is for work stuff.
Gotcha. Selling out some things. The Pinnacle Light Trade, what's that? Because you've had some in some.
Pinnacle Light Trade, I think, should be my deposit for work.
Okay, good. Cash deposits, just going through, making sure I catch you on any bull. but not really seeing much. And Pinata.
So one of the things we did talk about, you remember we might have butted heads on, because I said I had ADD and I needed some little bit of extra flex funds, and I realized after we talked I was being a little too generous with myself, so I dialed it down to what I called like a whatever fund, which is basically $100 every 2 weeks, and that just, I don't have to spend it, but it's there. I can save it, and so that's just kind of what I used. And so you might see on some of the transactions for a little fast food, like, hey, whatever fund. And so that's just my budgeted money. And because of that, I've been able to, that's how I keep my $2,500 a month budget.
Yeah. I mean, with kind of subsidizing your business right now, and still, I mean, you owe money to your family. If when we owe money to our family and friends, I would personally feel selfish if I'm going to Chipotle, Nodecraft, going inside getting some crap from the gas station, the Nodecraft, and the Domino's. I would personally I would feel selfish.
Yes. And I understand completely. But for me, it's just that little flexibility lets me stick with everything else. And
I hope so.
It's what's let me work. And for the last month or two, with me having to support the shop, I've dialed that down a whole lot. So I'm not even really, it's even less for the month of June. So I get what you're saying. Like we said, I have it's a mental thing. It's what I need to to kind of just keep myself focused. And it's what's working so far. Like I said, I got my budget down to $2,500 a month, and out of when I bring home 45.
No, you're making progress. Don't get me wrong, and I think it's okay as long as you're actually making progress. I mean, I go hard on people out of the gate because they're just making no progress. But if you're actually making progress, I think it's okay to allocate some towards it. But again, when we're talking money owed to family and friends, I don't know, that's just where I start to feel a little gross personally. But Del Taco, okay. And the SoFi, let's see, went out to eat there, and got some drinks at a gas station or something there. Savings, you have nothing. Do you not have any savings right now? Not a 1 month emergency fund anymore?
I had to clean out the emergency fund and savings in March for everything.
But that was in March.
I got banned in April.
Okay, I'm sorry. At this point, though, okay, I get what you're saying with the mental health thing. I do. I hear that, and there's lots of realities there, and I'm taking your word on that. And I'm not a mental health professional, but I promise you one thing that will put you in a worse position is if another emergency happens now. Listen, yes, you drained it, and you drained it for accurate reasons. But if you're not cutting back on bullshit to at least get a 1 month emergency fund, you're doing it wrong, man. Because if an emergency happens, all the progress you've made is going to get wiped. It's going to get destroyed. You're going to go into worse debt. I would cut back for literally just for a couple months and make sure you have $1,000, at a minimum, Dave Ramsey style, because you're just going to bone yourself, man. And I do not want to see that from you. It's so scary.
You're right. And it is. And I hate that stress. But remember, I told you I got banned on Etsy in April. So basically, part of when
but you're still spending on bull.
Yes, you're right. I don't have an excuse for that. It was just in my budget. I could make it work. I said, okay, I'm just gonna have to be. It's gonna suck for 2 months, and then once I get through June, I'll start making more money and start rebuilding the fund. So I'm already starting to save up again.
I disagree that it's working in your budget. I vehemently disagree that it's working in your budget because you don't have even a single cent. And you technically do have a single cent in savings. You have like $50, but you drained your emergency fund. The first thing you do after you drain an emergency fund is you build it all the way back up. And if you don't build it all the way back up, you're putting yourself in a risky situation. And if you're not budgeting to build it all the way back up and you're budgeting and fund, you're budgeting it incorrect. You're not doing a correct budget. You're not budgeting.
Yeah. I didn't regrow it like
I am still. Don't get me wrong. I am.
You're right, and like I said, I'm dialed the spending back even more for June, and for the next month I'll be getting it back up to like $1,000 for July. So we are going to get there.
Don't get me wrong. I am happy with the progress you've made. I truly am. What I would just do, we're kind of going back to roots. What I would do before making any substantial progress is make sure you at least have 1 month set aside, or you can do the money guy way and make sure you have your highest deductible set aside. I don't want you to get, because what you used an emergency fund for is likely to happen again in some other way. That happens. Things like that happen. I had hail come and just obliterate the windshield of my car. And yes, there was some insurance, but I still had to put some money out of pocket. If I didn't have an emergency fund, that's what they're there for. So I don't know. I wouldn't have a single cent to fund for a single month, and just have a month of emergency fund just saved up on the side. And then again, because you're making progress, sure, if you have to allocate $100 or something to fund, fine, do that. You've been making that work. That's fine. But you need a 1 month emergency fund for the most basic safety. So that's what I would do. I'm a little disappointed in that, but I am very happy with the progress you're making. I hope the IRS thing works out with your accountant. I really do. So keep making progress. Pay your family and friends back as quick as you can, please. And then I still want you to get something in retirement at some point. But I mean, that's kind of where we're sitting today, I think.
And you're right. My big play is just to get the business back up and running and start, saving up as much from that as possible. Because I know I'm not going to be able to retire and really do anything just based off my current job alone. So, when I'm not working, I'm here at the shop.
Okay. All right. Do you have any final thoughts?
Not really. Thanks for the reaming on the emergency fund and kicking me into gear for that. I will get that taken care of and rebuilt as quickly as possible. You're right. I was being a little too slack. No, I wasn't. I was being very slack on that, and thanks for kicking me in the butt for that.
Yes, sir. Let's do it again. Let's do it again soon. I want to see that 1 month emergency fund and then continued progress. Again, you have been doing good, and we should celebrate that. You've been doing well. And let's just get that 1 month emergency fund, because I just don't want to be like that. Gives me anxiety for you, and no one wants to feel that. So let's do that. But I'm excited to see you again.
I'm getting nightmares from it, so I want to fix it.
Well, there we go. That's telling. Cool. So we'll do this again in a few months. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Have a good one. And we'll see you guys in the next follow-up.